Hello and welcome to Musclebox Radio episode number 24. So today I'm joined by Emil Goliath. Welcome to the show again, Emil.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me on here again.
Yeah, and just to wish everyone a very happy new year, as this is our first show since the Christmas period. We've had a few weeks off, and now we're back to regular full flow. How was your Christmas, Emil?
I worked over Christmas,
Yeah.
but it was very friendly for dieting and prep, which suited me to a T. So yeah, I've just started prep again, about 2 weeks in now. So yeah, enjoying it.
Nice. And what we'll have to do is get you onto the podcast more to talk about your prep. And just how kind of that's going. So what sort of time periods are you looking for now? When's your first one? I know it's only a potential, but which one were you thinking about?
Well, I started prep on the 28th of December, which would have put me about 12 weeks out of a first potential show in March.
Yeah.
That would be Miami Pro. But that's not a main event for me. It'll be May, probably one of the shows at Body Power or end of May, which is a really nice sort of 20-week prep. But I really wouldn't, after last year, do anything lower than that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, the first thing I did when I started my diet was nothing. I changed nothing. I just continued straight on. Everything was working perfect.
Nice. So what's happened for the first couple of weeks? Weight gone down? Yeah,
weight's gone down beautifully. You can see the progress in the pictures as well, which is really, really nice. The sort of first inclination is always to change things up and think, right, I need to add more cardio, I need to drop the calories. But actually for the first week, the weight didn't go down, but then it dropped the day after on the 8th day. So I knew it would because it had been in the past, so I just let it go. And everything was on track. I mean, patience is the biggest thing with both dieting and prep. You just need to trust the process.
Yeah.
And that's why it's often helpful to have someone external just to say, look, it's fine.
You're doing
just
all right.
Keep going.
Yeah. That's it. In like with your prep at the minute, I know that, when I'm looking over your stuff, it's very early days. And it's kind of like more help is needed toward the latter end. It's like, when do we make that move? When do we make that last push? And should we or shouldn't we? And so right now it's kind of like, weight will dictate a good amount, and obviously I see you training and you are getting leaner every time I see you. So that is always a good sign, really. So mate, I think 20 weeks you'll be looking pretty diced.
Yeah, I hope so. And the biggest thing for me is not to have to hammer it. So if I can come in nice and gently in 20 weeks, if I can be ready in 16, 17, 18 weeks, then it's not going to be a struggle. I'm not going to be craving foods and I'm not going to want to rebound.
Yeah, and we can start to push more food in,
Exactly that.
And if you can go into a show being back at maintenance calories for a couple of weeks, then brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, that would be absolutely huge. And I mean, you're going to be hungry. It's prep, same with diets. You're going to be hungry. It's just what happens when you're in a calorie deficit, but you can make it a lot harder than it is with silly, arbitrary rules, which often happen. But that's the topic for another podcast.
Yeah, so what is the topic for this podcast?
Right, so today we're going to be talking about supplements. I did do a post about this in the Team Box UK group a couple of months before Christmas. So if you're not already a member of that group, find us on Facebook and sign up.
Our page, isn't it?
Yeah, that's our Facebook page, Team Box UK. I did a 2-part series then about supplements, what I thought about them, what I take, and which ones I thought were less than good. And I suppose it's worth at this moment mentioning that we're both sponsored by a supplement company, different supplement company. So we are, from that point of view, unbiased, as in, it's not a money issue with supplements. If we're not taking something, it's truly because we think it's awful.
Yeah. So obviously it's great to actually clear up the fact that, we are obviously sponsored, and it's one of those things that we can hopefully kind of look at the evidence in some of the research and give a little bit of a practical, our experience, I suppose, and then give you some guys some tips to actually apply that yourselves really. And then obviously you've got a whole range and whole host of products out there that you can use. And I think why people use different companies is, not necessarily just to do with, things like the taste of a product might be, there might be a particular company that makes great tasting whey protein. So that's the one that they use, for example. And that could simply be the choice, or it could be based on cost or budget or branding that they like. So there's so many reasons, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it's often the first supplement you've ever bought, which then you stick to because you know it and you don't want to deviate. So
Yeah. We're
yeah,
creatures of
there's
habit, aren't we?
well exactly that. You like it, you don't want to risk not liking the next one.
Yeah, and bodybuilders are creatures of habit. So yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
But the great thing is there are a lot of companies now doing like samples and things like that. So, I know that. So you're sponsored by Reflex.
Yeah.
I am with Grenade, and then also the podcast is sponsored by Muscle Food. So yeah, I know Grenade do lots of different sachets. Sort of try before you buy sachets, so you can sort of see if what flavor protein. You can order a few in, see which one you like, and then it just makes it a little bit more kind of well, so you're not going to waste your money on a product you've just spent, I don't know, £70 on for a tub of 4 kilos or something, and you realise you only have a scoop, and you're like, oh, not a fan of this. So, yeah, that's always a good thing when a company does do that, I think. So we decided that we'd go for like a scale, didn't we, on sort of a green, amber, red scale of supplements.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a huge variety of supplements, and there is varying levels of research about the different ones. And for most supplements, maybe 90% of them, the research is probably incomplete
Yeah,
or not specific to the audience we're talking about. So physique athletes, bodybuilders, and the fat loss, muscle gain crowd.
yeah,
So you can often only make a best guess based on experience and what research is out there. So that's why we've gone for this scale. And we will talk about the caveats as well to the scale and different circumstances where you might want to go over something or
yeah.
use something specific.
Yeah, well, that's it. Like a change in context could take one supplement from being red to a green, for example, and that's just because the context is different. So it's understanding, what context am I in? So for me, what supplements might be more crucial than others, and at what time, and potentially even what dosages. So yeah, I think a good to understand that it's kind of like a sliding scaling spectrum of what you're going to get the most bang for your buck from, compared to actually if you just enjoy taking it or you like taking it and it's not going to affect your budget, then why not, sort of thing. So yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note as well, you have to sort of consider the placebo effect as well. Taking something, you are doing something which might then cause you to feel better and therefore do whatever else. So if you're,
yeah,
say, taking creatine, you might stick to your diet and lose fat. Now, creatine has no properties in fat burning or fat loss, but you might find that in what you do.
yeah,
And actually, that's probably how a lot of sort of the more red zone supplements work, particularly in the sort of fat loss, sort of general population marketing market.
yeah.
You
Or
start
like
taking.
it could be
Go on.
something as simple as, let's say you've just took for example, I don't know, like what would we class a sort of supplement, like a
Raspberry
testosterone booster,
ketones.
huh?
Raspberry ketones.
Raspberry. Okay, yeah. So I don't know if you've gone for something like that, and then you then go and go, right. I've just took my mega super testosterone booster supplement. Then you go to the gym and you're like, right, bang, I'm gonna smash out my workout, and you train that little bit harder. Then great, but you could have maybe just psyched yourself up anyway. Um, yeah,
Yeah, and you have to always balance that with cost. And so one bit we will be going through is, if you are on a budget, what are the sort of top couple supplements that,
yeah.
you know, on a scale, what are the most useful ones? And then as your budget expands, what you could perhaps consider for sort of those funny circumstances.
Yeah, because realistically, a supplement budget could literally go from something like £30 a month up to something stupid like 300, £400 a month. You can certainly, like overdo it for what you really need. and overbuy sort of, from the, you're not really going to get any benefit back from, taking over in a, above board sort of thing. So what would be, let's just start off with the biggest hitter then, Emil. What would be your number one go-to supplement?
Right. So supplement. I mean, protein. Is it a supplement? Is it a food? Protein is protein. You can get it from chicken. You can get it from whey. Both of them are, I put in inverted commas, real food
Yeah.
sources. They're both natural. You get whey in baby powder,
And
um,
cheese?
and
Yeah.
cheese exactly. So, I mean, protein is protein. We know there's a load of evidence for protein. You need to have it regularly. You need to have adequate doses. You need to have a full spectrum of amino acids. Whether you have chicken or whey probably makes no difference. Um, the advantage of whey over chicken is that first thing in the morning you might tolerate a whey shake. You perhaps wouldn't tolerate a chicken breast. Um, and
And,
sort of
and when
apart,
and when you say tolerate, it's not necessarily like a digestion, like an intolerance. It's more of a case of, you mean, who gets up in the morning and goes, "Oh, I really fancy a nice breast of Cajun chicken this morning." But you might go, "Actually, I quite fancy sticking some whey protein in my oats, for example, or mix it with some yogurt or what." It's just a more palatable taste in the morning, isn't it?
well, exactly that. And I mean, yeah, first thing in the morning, I'm not hungry at all. I don't
Yeah.
want anything. And the thought of taking a chicken breast pre-cooked out the fridge and trying to chew through that is, absolutely not. But if I can get a shakedown, and
Yeah.
for me, that's absolutely spot on. And that is what I do,
Yeah.
um, day in, day out. And in terms of protein, there are a few different varieties, casein being the other sort of big one. The main difference, again, being that it's just a bit slower digesting. So you can use it, for example, before bed, and it'll provide a positive nitrogen balance or trickle of protein overnight.
Yeah.
Um, you can probably get this through a meal, but say if you have your evening meal at 6, 7 o'clock, you might not want to eat another meal at 10 o'clock. But having a protein shake, a casein shake,
Yeah.
is more acceptable.
Yeah.
Um, and it also works really well, sort of mixed up with yogurt, or even set into a dessert type thing. So
Yeah, I think whey protein has so many different, abilities to, put it into so many different types of meals. You've got only got to take it, look at like Laura's, so Laura Baker's blog, Girl Gains. That's got loads of different recipes on there, sweet and savory, for ways you can get more protein into your diet, really. So whether it's protein cookies or muffins, or yeah, just putting protein in your oats, or protein pancakes, it's just got so many different ways that you can actually get that into good, tasty food options, really. So yeah, that's great. You could even do things like put pea protein in like a, more savory sort of soup or something to increase the, if you had like a vegetable style soup, you could, batch cook that. And it's just a great way of getting in more, yeah, protein into your diet. So for me, yeah, I look at that as a food rather than a supplement, although obviously supplement companies do sell it. Yeah.
yeah, and just to clarify that point, taking a protein shake won't suddenly make you massive. It won't make you muscly. It will do exactly the same as if you eat a chicken breast.
Yeah.
So I know this isn't, the perception is getting better for protein in the general public, but a lot of people are still like, oh, what are you taking those shakes for? You don't want to get too big. It's like,
Yeah.
come on now.
Yeah, or like there seems to be like a kind of, with some people anyway, I've certainly come across, and they're like, well, it I want to be able to do a contest prep, but I don't want to take any protein powders or anything. Or, and I'm thinking, but why? Unless it's like a budget. And actually, if you were to look at, the price of a scoop of 30 grams of whey, versus what you would get from chicken, it's actually maybe on par or sometimes cheaper. So, from a budget perspective, I don't quite get it because it is very cheap. But yeah, I don't know. For me, it's like, well, it's no different to kind of eating cheese, really. If you would eat cheese, why not have whey? So yeah, I just don't
Totally.
get it.
No, I agree 100%.
So yeah, and then also I think with whey, like you said, you've got whey shakes. You've got casein style shakes. There's blended shakes as well, which are probably like a mix of casein and whey. Again, completely fine. So what sort of, if someone's looking to take a whey shake, what sort of serving do they want?
Well, whey is one of the sort of better proteins in terms of amino acid profile. And actually, what you're looking for when you look for protein is the leucine content, and whey has a really, really good leucine content.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, people are looking to take about 20 to 30 grams of whey protein per serving, which is roughly what the servings are on the back of the tubs
Yeah.
anyway. If you're 120 kilos, then you might want to take 2 scoops, and indeed that's what I do. I don't really mess around with it.
Yeah.
And there's no harm in taking more protein. It might keep you full for longer or whatever, but actually the minimum you want is that sort of 1 scoop, 25 to 30 grams. And basically what that leucine will do is that'll spike your muscle protein synthesis, which is the essential process for building muscle.
Yeah, I think the research would go to, somewhere like a zero point 0.4 to zero point 0.5, somewhere around there of protein per kilo of body weight. So if I'm 80 kilos, then if I went for half, so zero point 0.5, that's about 40 grams. And I think that's a good little rule of thumb just to use. You think that's probably enough for me. So like you said, if you're 100 kilos, then you're going to go 2 scoops, which is about 50 grams, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely
So
that.
and then that's going to give you your leucine threshold, which is about 3 to 5 grams to spike muscle protein synthesis. And basically, yeah, like you said, the larger and the more muscle mass you have, you're going to require a slightly larger, serving of leucine in order to spike muscle protein synthesis because you've got more tissue in your body.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was actually a paper 2006 which might be starting to show evidence to the opposite, but I have to have a proper read of it.
Oh,
In any
really?
case, yeah, I think I saw it the other day, but in any case, you can't really
Yeah,
overdo the protein apart from the calorie content. So
yeah.
I wouldn't change my practice just because of that, to be honest.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. I have to give that one a read. Yeah, and that's it. If that comes out and we think, oh, actually, we might be able to save a little bit of money here, or actually, then we can have put more of those calories towards, for example, carbohydrates, which are going to maybe potentially fuel your performance more. Then great. So, I think it's got some other benefits there. So nice. So protein aside, then, and then I think within that category as well, you've also got protein bars.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, protein bars are effectively solidified whey protein.
Yeah.
Um, and like protein, they're protein powder. They're convenient.
Yeah.
And whereas a shake might be a bit awkward to put in your bag, everyone's had a shake explode in their bag. A protein bar is super, super convenient. I mean,
Yeah.
on the other hand, you might need to combine it with some carbs and fats to make it palatable and in a bar shape.
Yeah.
So it's a few extra calories for what you
Yeah.
get, but yeah, protein bars are a great way to sort of have protein on the move.
And
The only
that was one
sorry,
of
go
the
on.
reasons why I, was really interested in working with Grenade because their protein bars are phenomenal. For me, having I'm anyone who sort of looked at my YouTube channel will notice that, throughout prep, I enjoyed a carb killer bar. Yeah, and they are just a really tasty way of getting more whey into your diet, and it's convenient. It's maybe double the price of a regular chocolate bar, but a regular chocolate bar doesn't give me 25 grams of protein. So I think it's spot on, really. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The only danger with protein bars and myself is I tend to eat them by the box as
Yeah,
opposed to by the individual bar. So for me, I try and avoid them during periods of preparation.
too convenient
They're too convenient.
and too tasty. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like when I was in prep, I allowed myself to have uh, a carb killer bar every day, and I didn't track it. So I was like, I'm just having one. It's my, mine. I just had it, and that's fine, and move on. But yeah, and that was like my little treat that I could enjoy every day. But yeah, great. It's actually one thing as well that I get. I have a few clients that wake up in the middle of the night and they're hungry, and rather than them going to the fridge and eating whatever's there, I just say, look, I'll give you a calorie allotment. You can either have a whey shake, you can either have a protein bar, and I'll give them options of protein bars, whatever they want in terms of preference and stuff. But yeah, they just have that, eat that, and then go back to bed. And straight away, when they would normally go to the fridge and maybe devour, I don't know, 5 to 800 calories, they can just kind of get their satiety within a couple of hundred calories, and then they're back to sleep. They've had a protein feed because they naturally wake up at that time. So yeah, rather than saying no, don't do it, stop it, I was like, well, how can we actually make this a positive rather than just yeah, and it's been working out great. So yeah, so that's protein bars and whey. So them aside, they're the easy ones. What's next?
Right. I mean, for me, this goes under the sort of essential foods. Like, it's probably one of the food groups, and it's caffeine. Um, so, I mean, everyone drinks, and not everyone, a lot of people drink caffeine, and actually, you find it in Diet Coke, you find it in obviously coffee, tea. So, actually, I put out there that over 95% of the population consumes caffeine in some form.
Yep.
Now, where does it cross the line into becoming a supplement? Is it when you start taking pre-workouts? Is it when you start taking Pro Plus caffeine pills? Um, I mean, from a science point of view, there is ergogenic benefit to taking caffeine before you train.
Yep.
That's a fact.
So
Um,
for what is an ergogenic benefit? What is
so
that?
it helps human performance. Basically, it
Yeah.
improves your performance. And the optimal dose, I think, is between 200 and 400 grams of caffeine taken before a workout, tolerance allowing,
Yeah.
basically. Um, I mean, tolerance is the big sort of caveat when it comes to caffeine. A lot of people will drink so much coffee that when they have their pre-workout, they won't feel it. The big thing with that is that you will still get the ergogenic benefit. You just won't get the buzz. You won't get the euphoria. You won't get the shakes and all of that. Um, but that's absolutely fine. So do keep taking it. You might not feel it as much, but crack on. I've also actually read about the theory of caffeine cycling. So if you are a sort of high level athlete and you do like those sort of effects of caffeine, then if you sort of abstain from it between events, you can then take it for the event and get the full effect of caffeine. So you
Yeah.
kind of scrub your receptors and allow them to reset, so you can get all the juicy effects of caffeine.
Like potentially a lower dose, maybe.
Exactly, and it will be a lower dose because your
Yeah.
tolerance will be reset.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Sounds good. But it feels like hell when you do come off.
Yeah, it does. I mean, withdrawal. um, sort of in the next day or so, you'll get a splitting headache and just feel tired as hell.
Yeah.
But it doesn't last very long usually. Um, yeah, depends how you want to run it.
Yeah, and certainly I'm sure you'll know that over the course of your prep, your caffeine intake just goes up and up and up.
Yeah, yeah. When you're after that sort of that buzz,
Yeah.
you just keep taking more and more. But so from that point of view, basically caffeine is um, the main active ingredient within pre-workouts. Most of the other active stimulants have been banned, to be honest. So caffeine is the one, and pre-workouts will use bigger doses to try and outdo each other. But yeah, that's pretty much what you're getting.
So when you're looking to get your pre-workout in, what sort of dosage are you looking for of caffeine? Like you said, 200 to 400 milligrams, depending on your tolerance.
Yeah, absolutely. And if your tolerance is higher again, then actually some companies will do caffeine-free ones, and you can just take that and then have caffeine as a pill or a powder
Yeah.
separately.
Yeah.
Which I mean, again, is something I do working night shifts and things. I tend to use quite a lot of caffeine, so um, I'll take a pre-workout for the taste and for the other bits and bobs in it, but the caffeine's going to be the bit that gives you the kick.
Yeah, because I think that's sometimes the problem with a supplement that has a lot of combined ingredients. Because sometimes I've noticed with companies in the past, what they've done is like a little sprinkle effect. They've kind of gone right. Our like 10-gram serving contains these 30 ingredients, or they're like, it contains this, it contains that, and that's how they're marketing their supplement. But when you look at it and you're like, right, so I've got 1 gram of creatine, great. Like, it's like taking, I don't know, half of a paracetamol when you normally need to take two in order to alleviate a headache or whatever the dosage is required there, right? So you do need enough to actually see some sort of benefit.
Yeah, and that's a big point for a lot of supplements, is just making sure that the doses on the back are adequate for your needs. I mean, it is difficult for a pre-made supplement to cover every shape and size and
Yeah.
gender and all of this. So just have a look on the back. If you like the supplement, crack on, but make sure you top up. As you say, 1 gram of creatine is probably a bit low for most people, so you'd want to probably take extra.
Yeah. So on the creatine then, where would that fall into our spectrum? So we've got whey, we've got protein bars, we've got caffeine. Where does creatine come into the mix? Obviously, a very popular supplement.
Yeah, I mean, whey and caffeine would be almost foodstuffs if you see if you see what I mean. But creatine is then probably one of the first true supplements. And by that I mean it's something that realistically you can't get from your diet. Um,
In such great degrees, right?
exactly that. So
Yeah.
it is found in red meat and things like that, but you'd need to eat, I don't know the exact number, say half a cow to be able to get enough creatine. Or you could take half a teaspoon of powder.
I like that. I don't know the exact number. Half a cow, that
It,
classic number. Yeah.
it's a lot of cow. Um, the exact amount of cow that you need to eat, the exact percentage of cow.
I'm gonna
It's
work in cows from now on.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's half a cow, full cow.
Um, but yeah, so creatine's got an absolute shed load of evidence, and all the research is done on creatine monohydrate, which is the cheap and cheerful and most effective one as far as we know to this point. I mean,
Yeah.
I remember in my first year of medical school, I did a paper on creatine, and that was in 2005. So it was around sort of decades before that even,
Yeah.
and more evidence comes out for it all the time. So in terms of practical aspects, take between 3 and 5 grams a day of creatine monohydrate. The best time to take it is when you remember,
Like that,
and
yeah.
yeah, to take it with water. I mean, there was a theory about taking it with juice for the insulin spike.
Hmm.
I don't know where that stands these days, but generally speaking, it's going to make such a minimal difference. I wouldn't stress about it.
I think I actually have seen a paper on that actually with the a creatine and carbohydrate
Yeah,
ingestion rather than just creatine alone. But yeah, I think yeah, if like some people, washing some monohydrate down with water might taste a bit weird, whereas if you're just going to get up in the morning, you have a glass of orange juice, and you pop your creatine in it, you're not going to taste it, and by the time you're at the bottom, you've drank it. So sometimes a juice could just have a masking effect of the taste. And if it's something that you remember, if you do have like a small glass of orange juice in the morning, and you remember to have that every morning, then it just makes sense to put your creatine in there and get it all done in one go, rather than forgetting about it maybe.
yeah, absolutely. And yeah, for me, the issue was always the extra calories from orange juice. I
Yeah,
just stopped drinking my calories, so I don't have orange juice, so I don't take it with juice. But
yeah,
you can put it in your post-workout whey shake, which will also give you the insulin spike. Plus the fact that your post-workout will give you the insulin spike. So,
yeah,
if you want to start playing optimization, then you can do that.
yeah. No, nice. Or something that I do, which we're going to talk about, is I put mine in my BCAAs and my caffeine before I go and train.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. It's literally the time you remember it. And if you forget it, it's really not the end of the world. If you
Yeah,
take 2 teaspoons, it's really not the end of the world. There's loads of sort of, I mean, certainly back in the day, there was lots of side effects of creatine, such as cramps, water retention, um, GI upset, sort of gut upset. But I think a lot of those are down to the dose you take, impurities in the creatine production process, again, back in the day,
yeah.
and just remaining adequately hydrated. And I mean, to be honest, I don't think I've suffered a side effect, again, in inverted commas, of creatine
Yeah, and I
the
think
last
there is
decade.
like a washout period of about 2 weeks. So after you've stopped using creatine, it will still be at those same sort of levels for about 2 week period, I think. And yeah, and then so if you do forget a day, it's not the end of the world. You don't. I can remember when I first ever started taking creatine when I was like 17, 18 or whatever, when I first started really getting into the gym, and I was like, right, so for the first week, I've got to take 20 grams a day, but it says on the packet to take four dosages of 5 grams split over the day. So I was like, right, I'll have one at 7. I'll set an alarm to have another one at 11. I'll set an alarm to have it at 3, and then another one at 7. I was like, right, that's what I'm going to stick to. But let's say I was driving or something and I missed my 3 o'clock one, I'll be like, damn it, I've got to start from day one again. Literally did that. I'm not even joking. Like, just because it said it on the packet, I was like, right, for this to work, surely I've got to do it like that. I've got to get it in 4 times a day, every day for a week, and then it works. Because I wasn't like, I didn't have anyone telling me, don't worry, Steve, just carry on. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? But
Oh, it's exactly that. And then I suppose you went on for like 4 weeks and then cycled off it.
yeah, because
Um,
that's what it says to do on the
That's how you
back.
did it, yeah, back in
Yeah,
the day. So yeah, I mean, on a serious note, don't load, don't cycle. Take it when you remember, ideally every day. If you forget, don't worry.
Yeah.
Use monohydrate. There is a brand called Creapure,
Yeah.
which does actually most supplement companies' creatine, and it'll usually just say it next to the company's creatine. So Reflex has creatine from Creapure. It's a German company. It's really, really pure. It's probably
It's
an extra couple of quid.
you could say it's career pure, couldn't you?
Well, exactly that.
Yeah.
And it's a couple of quid. I mean, a kilo of creatine, I think, costs 15, 20 pounds.
Yeah.
So yeah,
5 grams a day is going to last you a long, long time.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's about a teaspoon ish.
Cool. Nice. And is there any populations that you wouldn't work at, any sort of context that you wouldn't use creatine in?
If you do get side effects from it, if you have kidney issues potentially, though I don't think there's any hard evidence for that. And actually, there's a lot of emerging evidence that creatine may have neuroprotective effects in older people. And certainly, there's a study, and I can't quote the details, about kids in New Zealand with traumatic brain injury who they used it on to positive effect. I mean, creatine's an actual substance within the body, and it's got a lot of stuff going for it which we don't necessarily know about yet. So, yeah, I think creatine's a great supplement.
And what does creatine do though? So how does it actually? Why would someone take creatine? What's the benefit of it?
Yeah, so yeah, of course, we didn't mention the most obvious bit. Basically, to contract a muscle, you use ATP, which is the energy currency within a cell, and that lasts literally seconds, so perhaps one rep. Now, this ATP is replenished over time, and the first sort of port of call for replenishment is creatine, and the creatine will allow the ATP then to last for maybe up to 60 seconds. So the more creatine you have, the longer this ATP will last.
Yeah.
So in real terms, it means you've got an extra 2 or 3 reps maybe over the 5 to 10 set rep range.
Yeah.
Now that might not sound like much, but 2 to 3 reps for each exercise, for each training session for 5 years, say, that's a hell of a lot of volume.
Yeah.
Uh, and and a point there is the evidence all points to this. This is really well shown, and the effect is tiny. It's a couple of reps we're talking. So when a supplement says, "Oh, this supplement will make you gain 4 kilos in 6 weeks," it's like it won't.
Yeah.
Like creatine is the most incredible, well-researched supplement out there, and it has a tiny, tiny effect.
Yeah.
Positive, no doubt, but tiny. So
Yeah.
you have to take almost everything against creatine as the benchmark.
Nice. I like that. Yeah. And I don't know if this is still true, but when I did back in my day when I was at university, I did quite a lot of look into or research into creatine. But not only does it help increase your stores of creatine, but also install your or increase your stores of actual glucose and carbohydrates, so glycogen.
Yeah, I mean,
And
I'm
only
sure.
by again like a small amount, but so this would be the only reason why I would say that the only time I would not encourage someone to take creatine is when they are just starting a diet, because potentially if you are storing more glucose or glycogen and you're storing more water, and there is a little bit of weight gain there from like water weight, should we say, then actually it might sort of counteract the effect of the actual diet to see that. So you kind of want to make sure that all this is in place in your off season before you go into prep, and then you just maintain those variables.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And on top of that, you've got creatine itself, which if you've ever tried mixing it with water, it doesn't mix.
Yeah,
So if you imagine that within a cell, it will draw more and more water itself into the cell,
yeah,
just like carbs do. So you will get water retention, but people say that as if it's a bad thing. But if you're 70% water and there's more water in your muscles are bigger, it's within the cell, it's lean mass effectively.
yeah,
So it will mess up the scales potentially, but you have to remember it's not fat.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's not also like the water retention that a lot of people think it is, which is when people say, "Oh, I'm holding a lot of water," they think that means between their muscle and their skin, and
Yeah.
you've got that sort of puffy, like really pliable, and it looks a bit weird. But yeah, this is a much better kind where it's giving you a much fuller, rounder muscle. So that's a win all round, really.
I mean, I don't know your opinion, but I take creatine all through my prep, all
Yeah,
through my competition. I don't stop taking it.
yeah, definitely. I'm the same. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't see any need not to take it. In actual fact, and if it does, allow those extra few reps, if it can, prevent a little bit of muscle protein breakdown, then yeah, prep is an ideal time to take it. I just wouldn't take it from a transitional period. Like if I was going to start loading it or start to take it, I'd make sure it's in my off season before I started, for example. Yeah, nice, cool. So that's that one. What are we on to next?
I suppose related to creatine, you've got beta alanine, which is sort of its baby brother. It sort of does a similar thing via a different mechanism, and it kind of improves the muscle buffering capacity. So whereas creatine might increase your rep range sort of from the 0 to 60 seconds ish, beta alanine will increase your muscle capacity after 60 seconds. So if you're doing longer type training, such as rowing, something like that, or middle distance running, then you might want to consider beta alanine supplementation.
Yeah.
And beta alanine is one of those funny supplements which has got a huge name for itself because of the tingling that you get from taking it. And basically, that's not a stimulatory effect. It's literally just the spike in the amino acid in your blood which causes it. If you don't like it, just take a smaller dose throughout the day. And that's why people put it in pre-workouts, because it makes you feel like,
You're
you've got the
buzzing.
power. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Literally, it's like powering up before a workout. But you don't have
Yeah.
to take it then. And indeed, I mix my creatine and my beta alanine together and just take them in my post-workout shake
Yeah, the
because it.
tingles aren't necessarily they shouldn't be used as an indication of I've took enough. I'm gonna have a good workout.
Yeah,
You're gonna have a good workout regardless of tingles or not tingles. Yeah,
yeah,
that's nice.
absolutely.
But obviously, for those guys who, or if you're listening and you're not a middle distance runner or you don't do, for example, rowing, like you said, so if you're doing a set of, I don't know, 20 reps, and each rep you're doing a 2 to 3 second eccentric, you're doing a 1 to 2 second concentric, you're easily going to be over the 60-second period within a single bout of training there. So then, yeah, it could be, you might say actually there could be a context there where it's going to be useful because you're starting to train for those longer periods in volume, aren't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I mean, we'll talk about it a bit later, I think, but you get the hierarchy of supplements in terms of costing and stuff, and you know, it's not going to do any harm, and it might cause a benefit.
Yeah. Because I saw, like, or you sometimes see that someone will go, oh, you shouldn't worry about supplements until you've got a perfect diet, then worry about supplements. And I'm like, well, what if you had the perfect diet, and if you ever managed to achieve that, then you wouldn't need a supplement because supplements are there to, like we said, they're there to be convenient. They're there to sort of fill in the gaps. Like whey protein or, for example, fish oil. They're there to fill in the gaps. So they're there to kind of help an imperfect diet become slightly better, aren't they? So
Yeah, absolutely. And but sort of in line with that, you don't want to be buying your supplements first before you're buying your
food,
chicken and rice.
yeah,
Because chicken and sorry, your diet and your training are going to be easily over 90% of the bigger picture.
yeah.
And by all means, sort them out and then go straight to supplements. But don't trick yourself into thinking, getting your creatine, beta alanine, caffeine, whey, omega 3s is
It
going to
yeah is more
change the
important
world.
than, for example, overall calorie intake. Yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
No, with that I definitely agree with. But when it's people like, oh, make sure you take this type of, vegetable, you'll get that micronutrient from it, and you're like, there's just too many ifs and buts in what have you. So, yeah, definitely nice. So, what are we on to next?
I think I mean, we're still in the sort of green zone here, and the other sort of supplements which I think are in this area would be omega 3s and vitamin D. Um, Now they're sort of both for general health and wellness, and it's possible to get both naturally. Omega 3s coming from oily fish.
Yeah,
You would need to eat quite a lot of oily fish every day to get it, which is fine, but often people won't. They'll help with sort of general well-being, improve vascular health, cardiovascular risk factors for reduce heart attacks and strokes, things like that. And there's some evidence that higher doses can help with muscle soreness, so they reduce inflammation. And ideally you want to go for the ones which are sourced from animals as opposed to from flaxseed, just
Yeah.
because they're more available for the body to use. For vegans and vegetarians, there is a form from algae, which apparently they're allowed to have and is okay, and has all the adequate bits in it.
Yeah.
So omega-3 fish oils are one of the other ones which I would recommend a lot of people take.
And the dosage for that is you want to look for the not necessarily the capsule size. You're looking for the amount of EPA and DHA within the capsule, aren't you? Because that's the bit that we actually want is the EPA and DHA.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, as long as the capsule has got those in it, the dose is usually pretty standardized. But do make sure that that it is. Usually, they come as a gram of fish oil or 100 milligrams.
Yeah.
Um,
And
and
how many grams would you take a day? I normally take about 3 grams a day of EPA and DHA.
yeah, so I normally aim for 6 grams because of this apparent muscle soreness effect. So I take 3 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
But in realistically, I take the 3 in the morning and then often forget to take the 3 in the afternoon. So,
Yeah.
it's massively a case of convenience and
Yeah.
remembering.
Yeah. So I work mine out as 3 grams of EPA and DHA. So sometimes that will be 3 grams, but over 5 capsules.
Okay, cool. Yeah,
So we're probably taking something similar, or if
yeah,
you're taking a little bit more, maybe you're a bit bigger, so it kind of would make sense.
yeah. But I
Um,
mean, this kind of stuff isn't stuff that you're going to take and feel the effect.
yeah,
It's the kind of thing that you take and the evidence shows that it'll benefit you. So,
yeah,
and to sort of get into the nitty gritty of it, what you're looking for is the omega-3 to omega-6 ratio. And in the modern world, we tend to eat more omega-6s, and this is bad. So you want to eat more omega-3s to match this. But if you had this sort of apparent perfect diet, you'd be fine and probably wouldn't need them.
yeah.
But that ain't
Nice.
going to happen so
And
much.
it is one of those things that if you are consuming like mackerel or like salmon on a daily basis, then you then also don't really need to supplement with omega-3, do you? You kind of just spend your money on your fish that you're buying, eat that, enjoy it. But then obviously when calories, if you're in, you're doing a prep and calories get lower and you obviously your fat intake goes lower, you might not be able to consume 300 grams of your salmon a day, and you might actually have to start to replace that with a cod or a haddock or a tuna or a fish, or like a chicken. Sorry, a fish. I'm calling it a fish, you idiot. Yeah, or like a chicken. But then obviously that's when omega-3 supplementation can be really useful because you're getting a really high strength dose for minimal calories.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the balance, and you, you probably can't take too much within reasonable limits.
Yeah,
I mean, don't go down in the whole tub.
yeah,
Oh yeah, so
nice.
then vitamin D is the other one in this sort of group, and people say, yeah, you get it in the sun, and that's true, but I think the actual science shows that you have to be naked in the sun for 20 minutes, like within a few miles of the equator, kind of jobby all year round to be getting enough vitamin D.
Fully
Um,
naked.
yeah, like no pants, and
For maximal optimal vitamin D
yeah,
exposure. Make
just tell
sure
the
you're sunbathing. Yeah.
tell the police that. Um, so, but I mean, in the UK, like even if you're like, yeah, I'm out in the sun every day, like you're wearing shorts, you're wearing a t-shirt, and all day every day is like an hour. You're actually
Yeah.
working the rest of the time in an office, so
Yeah.
most people can benefit from a vitamin D supplement. And again, it's sort of general well-being, immune function, bone health, things like that.
And also, you got to make sure you're completely shaved.
Yeah. So for maximal sun gains.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so in terms of doses of vitamin D, this is quite a semi-controversial area.
Yeah.
I mean, from what I've seen, according to the evidence, the maximum safe dose is probably up to 10,000 international units a day, which is significantly higher than the recommended dose within the UK. America and Canada, I think, are a little bit better, but they all give a lot of leeway within this. I personally take between 2,500 and 5,000 a day, which
Yeah.
is well within the safe zone. And I think aiming for around 3,000 will get you an optimal level of vitamin D. And that's actually a point. Most people aren't deficient in vitamin D, but most people aren't optimal either. And there is evidence that being optimal as opposed to not deficient is beneficial.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so 300 IU a day for I think it's 30 days will get you into that optimal range. And to be honest, most athletes will get blood tests, I think 2-3 times a year to check their levels and then dose according to that.
Yeah.
I personally don't, but I just take sort of between the 2,500 and 5,000 a day.
Nice. Sounds good, mate. So that's green zone. Any other we're going to put in the green zone, or is that the green zone done?
I mean, for me, these are the supplements that are either really, really convenient or that are really, really difficult to get naturally in your diet.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
yeah,
we've kind of got two categories there. You've got from a performance side of things. So if performance is your goal, and I would also class performance in muscle growth on that side. You've also got your creatine, your caffeine, and beta-alanine. And then on the other side, for more maybe health perspective, you might go for your fish oil, your vitamin D, and then you've got protein supplementation across the board, right?
absolutely. And that is pretty much
Yeah.
my stack.
Yeah.
That's what I take every day.
So if you had, like, for example, a £40 budget a month, you could probably get yourself some fish oils, and you could get yourself some vitamin D. And if you were to buy a tub of whey, obviously you'd probably get a tub of whey which lasts you 2 months, but that might be around £40-50 for that. Same as if you were to go creatine, beta-alanine, and a whey, or again for about £50. But obviously if you were to go up to like £80, you could probably get the entire lot, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And with the caffeine one, pre-workouts are often quite expensive.
Yeah,
But if you've got pure caffeine as a pill or coffee,
yeah,
then you can make big savings on that. And whey is a cheaper form of protein compared to chicken. So it depends what you class. I
yeah.
mean, I would always have a tub of whey available to you. You don't have to use it every day. Get creatine; it's cheap and cheerful and really, really good. Get omega-3s, get vitamin D, again, both relatively cheap and really, really good. Beta-alanine is a bit more specific. You can delve into that if you want.
Nice. In actual fact, we're going to call that a day there, Emil.
Okay.
Because I think actually what would be great is if people wanted to ask more questions about supplements, and we can go over like amber supplements or red supplements. And I think actually if we got some listeners' questions in on supplements, that would be fantastic. So we will save a meal with your supplement part 2 podcast for another day, I reckon.
Yeah, sounds like a plan.
You
Looking
cool
forward
with
to it.
that? Because I
Yeah,
made
yeah.
a promise to myself I'd keep episodes under an hour, and we're already around 50 minutes. So yeah, I think we call it there. Now we've sort of covered off those. People can email me info@team-box.co.uk if you have any questions. You can then I'll then also add you into the Musclebox Radio podcast Facebook group where you can ask Emil, you can ask me questions on supplements or whatever, and we can keep those for next podcast really episodes. So that'd be great. But Emil, thank you so much for coming on to the show, mate.
Thank you for having me again, and looking
And
forward to the next one.
yeah, wish you the best of luck for your prep. And I'll be speaking to you anyway on Wednesday when we do our next roundtable
Yeah, looking forward to it.
with all the coaches. Anyway, mate, I will thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you all guys soon.
See you later.
Boom.